it is fascinating, like the seeing the mentality of different people trying to navigate their own journey and then other people's journey, and then this bitchiness of like oh.
And I'm obviously really enjoying the whole first 10 episodes, which was like first 3, 4 months of me enjoying that. Oh my God, I was absolutely shit. Like, I was just looking at it like, eh, please, who would even like that? There is nothing wrong about starting out late. And I did start pretty late, but you just have to be willing to learn and be humble and just, do the grind that most people have been doing since they were like 10, and not feel like awkward about it or sad that you don't know these things. Because yeah, most of us don't know these things, but I know more things than they do. So it's just a point of view. So
Yeah, and it's
yes,
not straightforward. Like I have been doing this since I was 10 years old, yes, but it doesn't mean like somebody might have life experience that you don't have, and it's not like just because you've been doing acting since you were 10 doesn't mean that you're great at it.
yes, but like, there are things when it
Hopefully
comes
it
to like,
does, but we all know people like they've been doing it for a long time. You're like, you're doing something wrong because it's you gotta keep working there, pal.
that's the thing though. Like, I got it so many times that people are like, oh, you're like, oh, you're very new. Oh, how would you know this? Like, you haven't been doing this. Like, uh,
Have you had
damn.
have actually people giving you that kind of vibe?
Oh yes, definitely. But like, people don't like, it's an industry, it's competition. Even though the acting industry is still more friendly than the fashion industry, like, you know,
Yeah.
I have an out for you on both. Um,
Yeah, I'm curious.
like, yeah.
But just you go. You keep talking, lady. I'm listening.
But yeah, I mean, it always sounds very strange when people ask when do you start, and I'm like, oh, like 2 years ago, or three. But I do not believe that, it puts me into any sort of mindset that I'm any less than those people who've been doing it for longer. I just know that they feel very threatened and very much like, oh, what are you doing here? Like, oh.
It's
Which is fine, absolutely fine. It's your thing, not mine.
yeah. No, you're 100% correct. You don't have to take on other people's weird perceptions of themselves and the world. Uh, but also it's something that happens when you take pride in your work and all the effort you've put into. That if somebody else comes along who you think hasn't worked as hard at it, you're like, well.
Yes. Yes.
But that's not. But that's not what it's about, because again, there's a lot of skills. I keep there's promotion, there's networking, there's a lot of things that go into this industry, and you might be really good at one of them, but if you shit at the other ones, someone else might catch up on you.
The amount of people who are very good at networking and they just get these roles without any training. Do you know if I, or like someone who has a famous parent, uh, they haven't necessarily gone to school, but they get all these big roles because they know someone. So it doesn't work one straight way. People can
Yeah.
come this way, that way, up and down. Like, roles come, and if it's for you, it's gonna find you. So
Yeah, and that's the thing because like for some beginners, it's like you have to have all these skills, and others, get the chance of like you get training on the job, pretty much.
yes.
Like,
Yeah.
because there's like coming out from Hollywood, there's reports of like studios willing to pay for acting classes because they're like, oh, they're so charismatic, you can't teach that. I will take someone who's got charisma but none of the skills, versus someone who's got all the skills but none of the charisma. You know?
On every big set, there's going to be an acting coach, an accent coach, and someone before doing pre's and 3 week rehearsals with you just on those scenes with the director. So, like, not necessarily with the director, but they are going to invest in you doing your best and not necessarily trust that when you were like in school 6 years ago that you're going to know your shit. Like, some people don't have the money to keep on training constantly.
Well, that's true as well. But it's again, it's fascinating, like the seeing the mentality of different people trying to navigate their own journey and then other people's journey, and then this bitchiness of like oh
There's
yeah.
always bitching, I'm
I
bitching right
get
now.
it, but, we're all drama queens at the end of the day, darling. It's acting, but yeah, it is. I mean, I don't like it, and I try not to do that. I hope I don't do it. Sometimes I might do it without realizing it, you know. But it is one of those things. Like if you go into the psychology of it, it's like, who hurt you? What's wrong? What's wrong? Like,
Yes,
take a break.
yes, but maybe when I get into that point of my life when I've been very unsuccessful for a long time, which I don't think so far has happened, I might be like that. And I get it. It's shit. It's very shit to not get a positive reinforcement in something that you spend so much time doing. And
Yeah.
like sometimes, especially with acting, for like a long time, you might not get an audition, you might not get a
Yeah.
tape, you might not be able to just do your thing, especially not get paid for it. Yeah, it's gonna be feeling like,
Yeah.
what am I doing with my life?
Yeah, and this comes back to I don't know a few weeks ago, a couple of weeks ago, I was thinking about this that sometimes people mismanage their own bullshit, their own problems, their own issues, and then you end up being like in the crossfire. You end up just being collateral damage, and it's
Yeah.
not your fault, and they shouldn't do it. But it's learning not to take that personally. That was like for me. I was like, ah, like,
It's never personal and it's most of the time not about you. If someone tells you, oh, you're full of shit, yeah, most probably it might be about you.
well, if it's direct, yeah. But even
Yeah,
then, have a think about it because it might not be.
yeah, it might not be.
It might
So,
just
you
snap
know,
that day.
yeah, he might have a shit day. Someone might have, don't know, bird shit on them or something. And I have those days. I get it. But yeah, it's interesting, especially in the creative industry.
Yeah, yeah. And then there's always the talk of mental health. This is what I love about the industry. Everyone talks about mental health, but then not everyone. That's not true. But then you get some people that you're like, you mental health. Yeah, you're into mental health. Go on, please do tell.
To be fair, I'm very into mental health. But like yeah, I am very positive about lots of things. And yeah, of course I have my days and it's it can be hard, but um like my trick is that I have so many other things that are happening around me that I don't have time to just be upset about something that didn't go right. The first thing I'm gonna do is pull up my iPad and draw for like 3 hours straight, maybe like stop doing it to drink some water. And like my mind goes elsewhere. I don't like it's so grounding and it's so important to have something else to do or some other interests because I feel like lots of people in the industry only do one thing and maybe they have a shit side job that they hate. And that's not going to make you happy. That's not going to make you feel fulfilled, you know? You need to have something else on the side that you love.
Yeah, in the long run, yeah, you can be. You gotta have other things going on,
Yeah.
and or even if it's not other things, just think like you're actively creating something on your own.
Yes.
Like, oh my god, if you're an actor and you're just waiting on a call and you're just waiting, good luck. You do something of your own. Honestly, just do something, anything. Just record a video and put it out there. I don't know.
Exactly. Because even there you get likes, you get people commenting, like interaction. Is so
Mm.
important because sometimes you feel like you're in it alone. You might not have so many friends or like people who can share your struggle. And if you put it out there, especially on the internet, you might get something positive or negative, but
Yeah,
you might be able to.
yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's immediately went into the mental health aspect of it, but I was gonna actually ask because it just brought it up of like, so how do you deal with rejection? What's your trick of surviving a no?
Oh, to be fair, for me, the hardest part is surviving a yes. Because I get so many no's that when I get a yes, I'm like, oh, so I actually have to do it now? Ah, what the fuck am I gonna do that?
Which is, yeah,
So yeah,
I get that.
but no's don't get to me.
I get that because I'm basically right now I'm creating this show. I'm not
Mm.
gonna say anything else right now because I'm not announcing it just yet, but I'm working on it and I'm like, oh fuck. Like things are looking like it's gonna be announced soon, but I'm like, oh shit, like I'm doing a show. Me.
Oh, yes. Exactly. It is that. It is exactly that.
Then I'm like, well, you know what? Everybody that's ever done a show the first time, that's how they felt, and it's normal. And I'm just gonna do it as well as I can, and I'm just gonna take as much pressure off myself as I can, and just focus on doing it the best I know how at this moment in time. I will get better, and I will look back on it and be like, yeah, that wasn't the best, but until I do it, I can't get there, you know. So I might as well
Yeah,
just do it then.
exactly. Like with the comic, I always use this as an example because lots of my friends tell me, "Oh, I don't want to get into anything because, you know, oh, I've never been talented or I'm not great at it." So when I started the comic, 2 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
I
Wait,
would have
three,
two,
two, okay.
two. I had the biggest ego. I was like, I'm doing a comic now because I'm a big gal, and that is the one thing my 12-year-old self would have wanted. And now that when I was reflecting, like, 10 years sort of later, I was like, you know, like this is not exactly how I imagined my life, but like I still want to be true to myself. So what could I do? And I was like, okay, I had this story, and like, this is my little imagination, and I just sat down and drew it. And I was like, this is gonna be shit. I'm doing something, but it's gonna be shit, and I'm gonna put it out there. And I got people coming back to me, and they're like, "Oh my god, I love this!" Oh my. 2 years later, now I look back, and I'm obviously re-drawing the whole first 10 episodes, which was like first 3-4 months of me drawing that. Oh my god, I was absolutely shit. Like I was just looking at it like, please, who would even like that? But for most people, they think it's impressive because they don't necessarily have the confidence to just be like, actually, whatever, it's there. I handed it in, done. And yeah, I always just tell everyone that just do it, get it out of the way. The first one's gonna be shit, but it's fine. You're gonna be very proud of it that you've done it. And
Yeah.
as you keep on practicing it, do it constantly, it's gonna get better and better because that's the way life goes. Like, yeah.
And there's people are terrified of like, oh, I don't want to be seen as a failure, or we always like a bit embarrassed of like, what if I do poorly and in public? It's one thing if I create, as you say, like a shitty comic, but then if I put it in front of people as well, then it's like, oh no, no one's gonna be my friend. But then actually, what I have found is that as long as you're not acting like it's the greatest thing you've ever created, as long as you're not, as long as you're like, I'm very happy to have created my first comic, not going, I'm created the best comic ever. Just say, this is my first one, I'm very proud of it. Most people will be like, you know what, well fucking done.
Exactly. They're gonna be like, oh my
But
god,
there's
well done.
gonna be enough people. Like there's gonna be plenty of people that say, "Well, fucking," done. And there's always gonna be people that say, like, "Oh, this is shit." Like you can have the best comic, someone will say it's shit. I can guarantee it.
They never say it to my face.
Oh, oh.
Anyone who says it to my face, because like honestly, when
Agnes
I
just had
did,
that life. She's like,
yeah, yeah, go on then. Like, do you want to go? But no, to be fair, no one has ever said anything bad. And like the most things that I got from whenever I share it with anyone that I'm doing this comic, because most people think I'm insane, um, they are like, "Oh my god, I could never do that. Well done." That sort of thing. And that always, of course, makes me feel very good about myself and like I'm doing something good.
yeah.
So yeah, it's very rare, or like it never happened to me that someone's like, actually, the fuck is that? Like never, never.
Well, yeah, no, fair enough. I mean, yeah. Let the internet. The internet will do that. Trust me. Because
It's on the internet. It's on the internet.
I learned
Yeah.
it from YouTube videos. It's like I've had the same video. I've had one comment say, I had one sketch, shortest sketch about like someone eating the last slice of pizza, and we were doing sword fighting. So we just did of like, oh, I just ate the last slice of pizza, and I just go, you fucking what? And I pulled the sword out. And that was like, you're not you when you're hungry. Just a very short one, right? And the top two comments, one of them said, oh, cringe. And the second comment is, there's exactly the right reaction. So someone was like absolutely loving it, and someone was absolutely hating it. And
Yeah,
that's okay.
exactly. You can never be everyone's cup of tea.
No, it is, yeah. It's It's one of those things where it's like you try. Learning this now of finding your audience or how much of an audience you need, and do you want to be loved by everyone or just someone?
Yeah, I mean, it is a learning curve.
Mm,
You can't know this before you go through it.
yeah,
Just put it out there.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Fair play. All right, okay. This is hmm. I'm actually, what? Well done you for
Well,
creating.
thank you. Thank you.
Uh,
But yeah, honestly, it's been a wild ride. Recently I had to sit in an interview and explain to like a board members meeting, what am I doing with my life? Um, yes, that was interesting.
I mean,
But
that's
to be fair,
great. Yeah,
like, because most people are very, very um like confused about like how one can go from so many directions into another one. Like, it's not even the same way. But I feel like, it went well. And in my head, it makes perfect sense. It might not make sense to someone who's, yeah, not into these things or creative industries in general.
yeah.
But yeah, that was interesting. A very good experience, by the way, because I'm very good at interviews. But yeah.
That is actually sometimes, yeah, you get like a curveball question. You're like, hang on, let me actually think about this for a second. Like sometimes people make you justify something so obvious to you, and you're like, I've never put that into words.
Yes, that was exactly that moment for me. Because um yeah, this is not how I imagine my life. Even if you were to ask me before the pandemic, I would have very straight up answered I'm going to be like a massive fashion designer or
Yeah,
have my own brand, which is still something that I still want to do. Um, but now it's a bit more colorful than that. It's a bit more gray rather than black and white.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting.